Today we're going to go over how to create a simple speeds and feeds knowledge base. What you see here is just a very simple part. I only have one tool in this file, and we're just going to start from the very beginning and work up to automatically creating or automatically establishing speeds and feeds for any given tool and tool material type. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out on the knowledge base. So knowledge base will open up here, and you can find this on the home tab in ESPRIT EDGE. So open knowledge base manager, then come down to speeds and feeds. First, what we want to do is we want to create a new standard. So to do that, you can simply come over here and click on add standard. So I'll do that now. I'll click add standard, and I'm just going to type in PMT standard. This is just so that when I go to establish it in the file, it will stand out. Next, it will be a part material group. So this would be the type of material that you want to be cutting, because speeds and feeds for steel will be different for aluminum, be different for brass, be different for copper, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is we just want to establish a material class. So I'm going to click right here, add material class. This will be aluminum. Okay. And part material condition, I'm just going to put 60, 61, T651. You'll just have to establish it for whatever type of material you usually cut or you want to establish a database for. Type of cut. So there's nothing here in your normal standard. You'll just have to click right here. This can be anywhere from pocketing to contouring to just generic, such as roughing and finishing. So I'll create two, roughing and finishing. And tool material type, this is such as carbide, high-speed steel, so on and so forth. I'm just going to create carbide at the moment. A couple other things to look for is down here in your filters, make sure these are not dark blue, because if they are, then what that means is that it's filtered and you may potentially not see certain items that are here or only see particular items. If you're trying to go back and edit something in here, this is where you can go back and you can filter it down to see only what you want to see, or make sure there's no filters present at all, but just make sure these don't have any filters at all at the moment. Next would be the calculation style. You have different settings down here in the bottom: milling, drilling, turning, boring, whichever. I would just stick to milling, but also make sure your input is set correctly as well. You have three different options here. You have inch, metric, and neutral. I would encourage you to stay towards inch or metric depending, but for right now we're just going to stick with inch. Next, what we want to do is we want to right click in this white box and we want to add a field. So right now, if I look up here, type of cut, just make sure you're paying attention to what is currently active, because right now it has finishing and carbide. So I'm going to click new. Tool diameter, right now I just have a 1/2 inch end mill over here, but you can set this for whatever type of end mill you have, or drill, or so on and so forth. But for right now I have milling, so my tool diameter is going to be 0.5, 1/2 inch. Depth of cut, so I'm just going to put this at its finishing, so 1/2 inch depth of cut. So this would be like your max parameter, so you have 0 to whatever depth of cut. And if it's shorter, it may run faster. If the depth of cut is shallower, it may run faster. If it's deeper, it may run slower. So it's fairly dynamic. You just want to pay attention to what you put in here for your depth of cut. So 1/2 inch here, speed 2000. That's going to be your surface speed, and your feed rate. This is finishing. So I'm going to say my feed rate at 1/2 inch depth of cut is going to be 0.0015, so 1,500 per rev. And you can put a note down here if you want to. It's just going to populate over here. And hit OK here. So that is something very simple. Just for testing purposes, I'm going to add, or I'm going to go back over here to roughing. You'll see that it disappears. I'm going to add the exact same thing. So 1/2 inch, 2000 surface speed, depth of cut, 1/2 inch depth of cut, and your feed rate is going to be 3.5. So instead of finishing pass, I'm just going to put roughing pass. All right, so we have that set. Next, we need to correct the document, or we need to alter the document for what we have here. So this will be whenever you open up a new document or go from a template file, or you can set up a template file to have this in here. But what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to part setup, the very first thing, and we'll go to part 1. And what you need to do is you need to set your speeds and feeds standards, the one we just created. So if I click this drop down here, I have PMT standard. I have multiple PMT standards here, so we'll just put the second one that's on here. Class would be aluminum. Condition would be 6061-T651. Perfectly fine. So I'm going to hit OK on that. Hit OK here. And last but not least, we need to go into the tool, because the tool has to be set to a specific material type. So speeds and feeds right now, tool material. We only have carbide because that's the only thing that I set up. You can have high speed steel, you can have carbide, whatever the material type is. So hit OK on that. All right, now that we have that set, let's go back over here to the features manager, and I'll click on pocket 1. And if I come up here to milling and I go to pocketing, let's go ahead and open that up. And with pocketing, I need to go to the general tab, and I'm just going to default all, just for testing purposes, of course. Tool ID, 1/2 inch end mill, and I'm going to go down to the roughing tab, because this is where I have my setting for use feeds and speeds knowledge base. So if I set this to yes, type of cut, let's set this to roughing. What you'll see here is my 2000 surface speed. You'll see my XY feed rate at 3.5 thou per rev, and my Z feed rate at 1750. So your Z feed rate here, you can actually modify your factor from your XY. So this is actually factored from your XY. Z is factored XY at 50%. So what you can do is you can go into File, Options, and then go to your Knowledge Base tab and actually set it to 100% rather than 50%. But if we were to go up here and we were to go to the Finishing tab, you'll see that it says 1.5 thou and 750. So again, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to hit OK just to calculate this. If I wanted it to calculate my Z feed rate at 100%, I'm going to File, Options, and then Knowledge Base, and I can set it to 100% here. Hit OK, and I'm going to open up my pocketing op one more time. And if I go down here, now you see finishing is at 1.5 thou and 1.5 thou. So it did update my feed rate to 100% factor, and it still does it for the 3.5 as well. To set a range for your speeds and feeds, we actually would need to go back into the knowledge base manager here. And what you'll want to do is, again, make sure you're in your type of cut, roughing, carbide. So we'll stay with roughing right now. And what we'll do is we'll come down here and we'll right click and just say add new. And what we want to do is we have the 1/2 inch tool diameter, perfectly fine. Cut depth 1/2 inch. So respectively, let's just set a range in between 1/2 inch and, I don't know, 100, let's say 100 thou, 0.1. So at this point, if our depth of cut is set to 0.1, and the speeds will still stay the same at 2000, but the feed rate we can respectively bump up a little bit. So our roughing pass range will be anywhere from 1/2 inch to 100 thou, and anywhere from 3.5 thou per tooth to 7 thou per tooth. So I'm gonna hit OK on that. And so what that does is over here, if I look in my operation, I'm just gonna hit OK just to calculate everything real quick and open it back up just so it pulls the information again. I don't think that's 100% necessary to do that, but I'm just gonna do it for my sanity and my peace of mind. Go to your strategy tab, and right now it's set to 1/2 inch. And if I open this back up, my 1/2 inch setting is 3.5 thou, and 100 thou would be my next setting down. So if I change this to 0.1 depth of cut, and I go back to my rough tab, you now see that my feed rate changed to 7 thou. All right, what happens if I go in between that? Let's just say if I set this to 0.275. What that'll do now, if I go back to rough, it's now hitting a point in between. So that's how you can set a range here. So you can set a range from 100 thou, you can set it to 1 thou all the way up to 10 inches. I mean, I don't think there's an actual limit to this, but you could definitely set a range here to interpolate the data from your least setting to your max setting. But I mean, pretty much the sky's the limit on that. And this will conclude how to set up a standard speeds and feeds database. If you'd like to see more of these tutorials, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive notifications when new content is released. You can also find these videos and correlating blog posts at pmtechnologies.com.